Check, check, check. Mic check, mic check, mic check. Can I get a mic check, please? Can I get a mic check, please? Hey, this was all Fatty, hombre. Fatty bought this up in one of his lives, and I found the PDF, and I figured, why not? Why not? Can I get a mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check? Let me know how I'm sounding. Let me know how I'm sounding, ladies and gentlemen. Spam. Check one. Okay, let's get into it, man. I ain't trying to keep y'all for a long time, just a good time. Just a good time. This is the book club. Y'all know the book club. We get about an hour reading in. I'll probably jam these together for y'all, to be honest. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. To get the playlist will be available on my channel. Y'all know how that goes. Let's get it going, man. I don't want to complicate this. This book we are reading is called The Manipulated Man. This book is it's older, to be honest with you, as at least what they compare it to today, right? It's an OG book. This was written back like uh over 35 years ago. This book has been written over 35 years ago. Let's get right to it. This book is written by Esther Vila, was born in Buenos Aires, Argentina. She studied medicine and sociology before becoming a writer. She followed the worldwide success of The Manipulated Man with two more books about the relationships between the sexes, the novels The Mosquito, The Mathematics of Nina Gluckstein, and The Seven Fires of Mademoiselle, and numerous plays, including The American Popist, Spear, and Jealousy. It is written by a woman. That is correct. Also by Esther Vila, from Pinter and Martin, The Polygamous Sex and Spear, www.pinterandmartin.com. I don't know how many pages. I got the PDF, guys. I couldn't find it on Amazon, so I found a PDF on the interwebs, right? So let's get to it, man. The first chapter is called The Slave's Happiness. Chapter 1. The Slave's Happiness. The lemon-colored MG skids across the road, and the woman driver brings it to a somewhat uncertain halt. She gets out and finds her left front tire flat. Without wasting a moment, she prepares to fix it. She looks towards the passing cars as if to expect someone. Recognizing this standard international sign of a woman in distress, weak female let down by male technology. A station wagon draws up. Almanaz, I'll get it to you if you want it in PDF form. Let me know. The driver sees what is wrong at a glance and says comfortingly, "Don't worry, we'll fix that in a jiffy." To prove his determination, he asks for her jack. He does not ask if she is capable of changing the tire herself because he knows she is about 30, smartly dressed and made up, that she is not. Since she cannot find a jack, he fetches his own, together with his other tools. 5 minutes later, the job is done and the punctured tire properly stowed. His hands are covered with grease. She offers him an embroidered handkerchief, which he politely refuses. I got you, 18. Which he politely refuses. He has a rag for such occasions in his toolbox. The woman thanks him profusely, apologizing for her typically feminine helplessness. He might have been there till dusk, she says, had he not stopped. He makes no reply, and as she gets back into the car, gallantly shuts the door for her. Through the wound down window, he advises her to have her tire patched at once, and she promises to get her garage man to see to it that very evening. Then she drives off. As the man collects his tools, where was I? Come on now. Nope, I went too far up. As the man collects his tools and goes back to his own car, he wishes he could wash his hands. His shoes, he has been standing in the mud while changing the tire, are not as clean as they should be. He is a salesman. What is more, he will have to hurry to keep his next appointment. As he starts the engine, he thinks, women, one's more stupid than the next. He wonders what she would have done if he had not been there to help. He puts his foot on the accelerator and drives off, faster than usual. There is the delay to make up. After a while, he starts to hum to himself. In a way, he is happy. Almost any man will have behaved in the same manner, and so would most women, without thinking, simply because men are men and women so different from them. A woman will make use of a man whenever there is an opportunity. What else could the woman have done when her car broke down? She has been taught to get a man to help. Thanks to his knowledge, she was able to change the tire quickly and at no cost to her. True, he ruined his clothes, put his business in jeopardy. I'm sorry, y'all. This thing's not tracking right. My apologies. Give me a second. He is happy. Da, 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 da. Come on now. True, he ruins his clothes, put his business in jeopardy, and endangered his whole life by driving too fast afterwards. Had he found something else wrong with her car, however, he would have repaired that too. This is what his knowledge of cars is for. Why should a woman learn to change a flat when the opposite sex, which is half the world's population, is able and willing to do it for her? Women let men work for them, think for them, and take on their responsibilities. In fact, they exploit them. Yet, since men are strong, intelligent, and imaginative, while women are weak, unimaginative, and stupid, why isn't it men who exploit women? Could it be that strength, intelligence, and imaginations are not prerequisites for power, but merely qualifications for slavery? Could it be that the world is not being ruled by experts, but by beings who are not fit for anything else, by women? And if this is so, how do women manage it so that their victims do not feel themselves cheated and humiliated, but rather believe to be themselves what they are least of all, masters of the universe? How do women manage to instill in men this sense of pride and superiority that inspires them to ever greater achievements? Why are women never unmasked? Jeff, how you doing, bro? I see you. What is man? A man is a human being who works. By working, he supports himself, his wife, and his wife's children. A woman, on the other hand, is a human being who does not work, or at least only temporarily. Most of her life, she supports neither herself nor her children, let alone her husband. Any qualities in a man that a woman finds useful, she calls masculine. All others of no use to her or to anyone else for that matter, she chooses to call effeminate. A man's appearance has to be masculine if he wants to have success with women. And that means it would have to be geared to his one and only raison d'etre, work. His appearance must conform to each and every task put to him. And he must always be able to fulfillment. What's good, Marcus? How you doing, God? Except at night, when the majority of men wear striped pajamas with at most two pairs of pockets. Men wear a kind of uniform made of durable, stain-resistant material in brown, blue, or gray. These uniforms or suits have up to 10 pockets. I keep losing my place. Have up to 10 pockets in which men carry instruments and tools indispensable for their work. Since a woman does not work, her night or day clothes rarely have pockets. For social events, men are permitted to wear black, a color that shows marks and stains, since on those occasions, men are less likely to dirty themselves. Moreover, the bright colors worn by women show to advantage against it. The occasional red or green evening jackets worn by men are acceptable, since by contrast, all the real men present seem so much more masculine. The rest of a man's appearance is also adapted to his situation. His hairstyle requires only 15 minutes at the barber every 2 or 3 weeks. Curls, waves, and tints are not encouraged as they might hinder his work. Men often work in the open air or spend a considerable amount of time in it. Hence, complicated styles would be a nuisance. Furthermore, it is improbable that such styles would make a hit with women since, unlike men, they never judge the opposite sex from an aesthetic point of view. So most men, after 1 or 2 attempts at individuality, realize what is going on with this PDF? Realize that women are indifferent to their efforts and revert to a standard style, short or long. The same is true of beards. Only oversensitive men, usually ones with intellectual pretensions, who want to appear mentally tough by letting their facial hair grow indiscriminately, wear a full beard for any length of time. That's crazy. It will be tolerated by women. However, for a beard is an important indication of a man's character and therefore of the way in which he might be most easily exploited. His field of work will usually be that of a neurotic intellectual. Shell Shock, what's good? Generally, a man uses an electric razor for about 3 minutes every morning to keep his beard in check. For his skin, soap and water are considered good enough. All that is required is cleanliness and an absence of makeup so that everyone can see what he is like. As for fingernails, they should be short as possible for work. Apart from a wedding ring worn to show that he is being used by a particular woman for a particular purpose, a proper man wears no ornaments. His clumsy functional watch worn on the wrist is hardly decorative. Heavy in design, waterproof, shock resistant, and showing the correct date, it cannot possibly be called an ornament. Usually it was given to him by the woman for whom he works. Shirts, underwear, and socks for real men are so standardized that the only difference is one of size. They can be bought in any shop without difficulty or loss of time. Only as far as ties are concerned is there any degree of freedom. And then a man is usually so unused to choosing that he lets the woman buy them for him. See, so Del Monte, what's good, bro? Vincent, what's popping? See, so this ties into what we see today, right? And this book is over 35 years old, right? The men that dress, how I like to say, that dress for show, right? And I'm sure, hey, ask the fellas in the chat if I'm wrong, right? The dudes who usually dress for show, who just fancy, right? We look at them as more feminine, right? Because that's what girls like to look at. You know what I'm saying? They're trying to keep up with females. Like when I see a dude that wear a bunch of Louis stuff, a bunch of Gucci stuff, a bunch of Balmain stuff, right? You'd be like, you look weird. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the point of it, right? Again, that's just stuff because that's what at this point in time, females associate with that stuff because they're wanting men to be more like them, right? the best analogy we can use is the pimp analogy, right? Pimps used to dress super sharp, right? So they can attract the feminine gaze, right? So that's kind of the same day as today, right? And y'all know it, most men, as far as underwear, socks, I mean, look at the way it goes on, on Father's Day, birthdays, and stuff like that, right? Every man pretty much wear the same type of boxers, the same type of socks, you know what I'm saying? Those are things that are not personalized to us, right? We gotta get dressed and go. Y'all know how I go. Del Monte said I dress for function show. My bad. Yeah, man. You know what I'm saying? So uh shirts, underwear, and socks for real. I said that already. Anyone visiting this earth from another planet would think it is each man's goal to look as much like the next as possible. Yet to fulfill women's purposes, masculinity and male usefulness vary to a considerable degree. Necessarily because women who hardly ever work need men for everything. There are men who carefully maneuver a large limousine out of a garage at 8 o'clock every morning. Others leave an hour earlier, traveling in a middle-class sedan. Still, others leave when it's not yet light, wearing overalls and carrying lunch boxes to catch buses, subways, or trains to factories or building sites. By a trick of fate, it is always the latter, the poorest, who are exploited by the least attractive women. For, unlike women who have an eye for money, men notice only women's external appearance. Therefore, the more desirable women in their own class are always being snatched away from under their noses by men who happen to earn more. That's the game. No matter what a particular man does or how he spends his day, he has one thing in common with all other men. He spends it in a degrading manner, and he himself does not gain by it. It is not his own livelihood that matters. He would have to struggle far less for that, since luxuries do not mean anything to him anyway. It is the fact that he does it for others that makes him so tremendously proud. Trying to find my space, guys. Bear with me. I ain't forgot about y'all. He will undoubtedly have a photograph of his wife and children on his desk and will miss no opportunity to hand it around. No matter what a man's job may be, bookkeeper, doctor, bus driver, or managing director, every moment of his life will be spent as a cog in a huge and pitiless system, a system designed to exploit him to the utmost to his dying day. It may be interesting to add up figures and make them tally, but surely not year in or year out. How exciting it must be to drive a bus through a busy town, but always the same route, at the same time, in the same town, day after day, year after year. What a magnificent feeling of power to know that countless workers obey one command. It's in the title. Del Monte, green beans. On page 8. We have long ceased to play the games of childhood. As children, we became bored quickly and changed from one game to another. A man is like a child who is condemned to play the same game for the rest of his life. Hey, Lady Navor. The reason is obvious. As soon as he is discovered to have a gift for one thing, he is made to be a specialist. Then, because he can earn more money in that field than another, he is forced to do it forever. If he was good at math in school, if he had a head for figures, he will be sentenced to a lifetime of figure work as a bookkeeper, mathematician, or computer operator. For their lifetimes, for there lies his maximum work potential. Therefore, he will add up figures, press buttons, and add up more figures. But he would never be able to say, I'm bored. I want to do something else. The woman who is exploiting him will never permit him to look for something else. Driven by this woman, he may engage in a desperate struggle against competitors to improve his position and perhaps even become head clerk or managing director of a bank. But isn't that the price he is paying for his improved salary rather too high? But isn't the price he is paying for his improved salary rather too high? A man who changes his way of life, or rather his profession, for life and profession are synonymous to him, is considered unreliable. If he does it more than once, he becomes a social outcast and will remain alone. The fear of being rejected by society must be considerable. Why else will a doctor who as a child liked to look at tadpoles and jam jars spend his life opening up nauseating growths, examining and pronouncing on human excretions? Why else does he busy himself night and day with people of such repulsiveness that everyone else is driven away? Does a pianist who, as a child, liked to tinkle on the piano really enjoy playing the same tune over and over again all his life? Why else does a politician who, as a schoolboy, discovered the techniques of manipulating people successfully continue as an adult, mouthing words and phrases as a minor government functionary? Does he actually enjoy contorting his face and playing the fool and listening to the idiotic chatter of other politicians? Surely he must once have dreamed of a different kind of life. Even if he became president of the United States, wouldn't the price be too high? No, one can hardly assume men do all this for pleasure and without feeling a desire for change. They do it because they have been manipulated into doing it. Their whole life is nothing but a series of conditioned reflexes, a series of animal acts. A man who is no longer able to perform these acts, whose earning capacity is lessened, is considered a failure. He stands to lose everything: his wife, family, home, his whole purpose in life, all the things, in fact, which give him security. Of course, one might say that a man who has lost his capacity for earning money is automatically free from his burden and should be glad about this happy ending. But freedom is the last thing he wants. He functions, as we shall see, according to the principle of pleasure and non-freedom. To be sentenced to lifelong freedom is a worse fate than lifelong slavery. To put it another way, a man is always searching for someone or something to enslave him. For only as a slave does he feel secure. And as a rule, his choice falls on a woman. Who or what is this creature who is responsible for his lowly existence, and who, moreover, exploits him in such a way that he only feels safe as her slave? We're on page 9. What is a woman? A woman, as we have already said, is in contrast to man, a human being who does not work. One might leave it at that, for there isn't much more to say about her. Were the basic concept of human being not so general and inexact in embracing both man and woman? Life offers the human being two choices: animal existence, a lower order of life, and spiritual existence. In general, a woman will choose the former and opt for physical well-being, a place to breed, and an opportunity to indulge unhindered in her breeding habits. At birth, men and women have the same intellectual potential. There is no primary difference in intelligence between the sexes. It is also a fact that potential left to stagnate will atrophy. Women do not use their mental capacity. They deliberately let it disintegrate. After a few years of sporadic training, they revert to a state of irreversible mental torpor. Why do women not make use of their intellectual potential? For the simple reason that they do not need to. It is not essential for their survival. Theoretically, it is possible for a beautiful woman to have less intelligence than a chimpanzee and still be considered an acceptable member of society. By the age of 12, at the latest, most women have decided to become prostitutes. Or, to put it another way, they have planned a future for themselves, which consists of choosing a man and letting him do all the work. In return for his support, they are prepared to let him make use of their vagina at certain given intervals. The minute a woman has made this decision, she ceases to develop her mind. She may, of course, go on to obtain various degrees and diplomas. These increase her market value in the eyes of men. For men believe that a woman who can recite things by heart must also know and understand them. But any real possibility of communication between the sexes ceases at this point. Their paths are divided forever. It's cool, Green Bean. One of man's worst mistakes, and one he makes over and over and over again, is to assume that woman is his equal. That is, a human being of equal mental and emotional capacity. A man may observe his wife, listen to her, judge her feelings by her reactions, but in all this, he is judging her only by outward symptoms, for he is using his own scale of values. He knows what he would say, think, and do if he were in his shoes. When he looks at, hold on, because I don't want to mess up. When he looks at her, but he will be disappointed. Rarely using the time she has gained to take an active interest in history, politics, or astrophysics, women bake cakes, iron underclothes, and make ruffles and frills for blouses. Or, if she is especially enterprising, covers her bathroom with flower decals. It is natural, therefore, that man assumes such things to be the essential ingredients of gracious living. This idea must have been instilled by woman, as he himself really doesn't mind if his cakes are store-bought, his underpants unironed, or his bathroom devoid of flowery patterns. He invents cake mixes to liberate her from the drudgery. Automatic irons and toilet paper holders already covered with flower patterns to make gracious living easier to attain. And still, women take no interest in serious literature, politics, or the conquest of the universe. For her, this newfound leisure comes just at the right moment. At last, she can take in herself, since a longing after intellectual achievements is alien to her. She concentrates on her external appearance. Yet, even this occupation is acceptable to man. He really loves his wife and wants her happiness more than anything in the world. Therefore, he produces non-smear lipstick, waterproof mascara, home permanents, no iron frilly blouses, and throwaway underwear, always with the same aim in view. In the end, he hopes this being whose needs seem to him. In the end, he hopes this being who needs seem to him so much sensitive, so much more refined, will gain freedom. Freedom to achieve in her life the ideal state which is his dream, to live the life of a free man. Then he sits back and waits. Finally, as woman does not come to him of her own free will, he tries to tempt her into his world. God damn it. He offers her co-education so that she is accustomed to his way of life from childhood. With all sort of excuses, he gets her to attend his university and initiates her into the mysteries of his own discoveries. hoping to awaken her interest in the wonders of life. He gives her access to the very last male strongholds, thereby relinquishing traditions sacred to him by encouraging her to make use of her right to vote and to hope she will change the systems of government he has managed to think up so laboriously, according to her own ideas. Possibly, he even hopes that she will be able to create peace in the world. For, in his opinion, women are a pacifist influence. In all this, he is so determined and pig-headed that he fails to see what a fool he is making of himself. Ridiculous by his own standards, not those of women who have absolutely no sense of humor. No, women do not laugh at men. At most, they get irritated. The old institutions of house and home are not yet so obviously outdated and derelict that they can't justify relinquishing all their intellectual pursuits and renouncing all their claims to better jobs. One does wonder, however, what will happen when housework is still further mechanized, when there are enough good nursery schools nearby, or when, as must occur before long, men discover that children themselves are not essential. Cellulite, what's popping? Tim and Miranda, how y'all doing? We on page 11. Are not essential. If only man would stop for one moment in his heedless rush towards progress and think about this state of affairs, he would inevitably realize that his efforts to give women a sense of mental stimulation have been totally in vain. It is true that women woman gets progressively more elegant, more well-groomed, more cultured, but her demands on life will always be material, never intellectual. Nope, that's not where I want to be at. This PDF weird, y'all, so bear with me. I apologize. Has she ever made use of the mental processes he teaches her? He teaches at his universities to develop her own theories. Does she do independent research in the institutes? Does she do independent research in the institutes he has thrown open to her? Someday it will dawn on man. Never intellectual. Someday it will dawn on man that women does not read the wonderful books with which he has filled his libraries. And though she may well admire his marvelous works of art in museums, she herself will rarely create. Only copy. Now, right? So this one, if y'all again, y'all be rocking with me, right? And this one, I tell y'all, like they don't really have any ideas of their own, right? What they do, they build off the foundation that men have built, right? It's why they always tell you, well, that's what men do, right? Or this is what men do, right? Because anyway, y'all know what I'm talking about. Even the plays and films, visual exhortations to women on her own level to liberate herself, are judged only by their entertainment value. They will never be a first step to revolution. When a man, believing woman his equal, realizes the futility of her way of life, he naturally tends to think that it must be his fault, that he must be suppressing her. But in our time, women are no longer subject to the will of men. That's quite the contrary. They have been given every opportunity to win their independence. And if, after all this time, they have not liberated themselves and thrown off their shackles, we can only arrive at one conclusion. There are no shackles to throw off. It is true that men love women, but they also despise them. Anyone who gets up in the morning fresh and ready to conquer new worlds with infrequent success, admittedly, because he has to earn a living, is bound to despise someone who simply isn't interested in such pursuits. Contempt may even be one of the main reasons for his efforts to further the mental development of a woman. He feels ashamed of her and assumes that she, too, must be ashamed of herself. So, being a gentleman, he tries to help. Men seem incapable of realizing that women entirely lack ambition, desire for knowledge, and need to prove themselves, all things which to him are a matter of course. They allow men to live in a world apart because they do not want to join them. Why should they? The sort of independence men have means nothing to women because women don't feel dependent. They are not even embarrassed by the intellectual superiority of men because they have no ambition in that direction. There is one great advantage which women have over men. They have a choice between the life of the man and the life of a dim-witted, parasitic luxury item. There are too few women who would not select the latter. Men do not have this choice. If women really felt oppressed by men, they would have developed hate and fear for them, as the oppressed always do. But women do not fear men, much less hate them. If they really felt humiliated by men's mental superiority, they would have used every mean in their power to change the situation. If women really felt unfree, surely at such a favorable time in their history, they would have broken free of their oppressors. In Switzerland, one of the most highly developed countries of the world, where until recently women were not allowed to vote in a certain canton, it is reported the majority of women were against introducing the vote for women. The Swiss men were shattered, for they saw in this unworthy attitude yet another proof of centuries of male oppression. How very wrong they were. Women feel anything but oppressed by men. On the contrary, one of the many depressing truths about the relationship between the gosh darn it. This one I wish I had a book. I'm not gonna lie to you. I gotta find my place in this damn PDF. 10, 11, Switzerland. The Swiss men were shattered, for they saw in this unworthy attitude yet another proof of centuries of male oppression. How very wrong they were. Women feel anything but oppressed by men. On the contrary, one of the many depressing truths about the relationship between the sexes is simply that man hardly exists in a woman's world. Man is not even powerful enough. Man is not even powerful enough to revolt against. Women's dependence on him is only material, of a physical nature, something like a tourist's dependence on an airline, a cafe's proprietor on his own espresso machine, a car's own gasoline, or a television set's own electric current. Such dependencies hardly involve agonizing. Henrik Ibsen, who suffered from the same misapprehensions as other men, meant his dollhouse to be a kind of manifesto for the freedom of women. The premiere in 1880 certainly shocked men as they determined to fight harder to improve women's position. For women themselves, however, the struggle for emancipation, as usual, took shape in a change of style. For a while, they delighted in their often laughed at masquerade as suffragettes. Later on, the philosophy of Jean-Paul Sartre made a similarly profound impression on women. As proof that they understood it completely, they let their hair grow down to their waists and wore black pullovers and trousers. Even the teachings of the Chinese Communist leader Mao Zedong were a success. The mile look lasted a whole season. A woman's horizon. This is page 12. Whenever men set about to impress women with whatever men set about to impress women with counts for nothing in the world of women.
Did you hear what I said?
Let me say that again. Read that again. Whatever men set about to impress women with counts for nothing in the world of women. Only another woman is of importance in her world. Of course, a woman will always be pleased if a man turns to look at her. And if he is well dressed or drives an expensive sports car, that's so much the better. Her pleasure may be compared to that of a shareholder who finds his stocks have risen. It will be a matter of complete indifference to a woman if he is attractive or looks intelligent. A shareholder is hardly likely to notice the color of his dividend checks. But if another woman should turn to look, a rare occurrence, for her own judgment is infinitely more remorseless than that of a man. Her day is made. She has achieved the impossible, the recognition, the admiration and love of other women. Yes, only women exist in a woman's world. The woman she meets at church, at parent-teachers meetings, or in the supermarket. The women with whom she chats over the garden fence. The women at parties or window shoppings in the more fashionable streets. Those she apparently never seemed to notice. Those women are the measure of her success or failure. Women's standards correspond to those in other women's heads, not to those in the heads of men. It is their judgment that really counts, not that of men. A simple word of praise from another woman, and all those clumsy, inadequate male compliments fall by the wayside. For they are just praises out of the mouths of amateurs. Men really have no idea what kind of world women live in. Their hymns of praise miss all the vital points, right? So this is what we talk about the sisterhood, right? How every woman says, you know, when a woman is ugly, the other, oh, she's a 10, right? They don't care about if a man thinks she's a 2. Right? All the stuff you do for her doesn't matter if it doesn't make her friends jealous. Right? Of course. Of course, a woman wants to please man as well. Don't let us forget, after all, that he provides the material means, but that is much more easily done. Men have been conditioned to react to a certain degree of differentiation. They expect women to conform to certain types of sex symbols created by makeup and other standard trappings, long hair, painted lips, tight-fitting sweaters, mini skirts, sheer stockings, high heels, all done in a moment. Yes, green beans, it's their nature, right? This is why I tell you, this is what when I talk about when you find a woman that you know for a fact, you know, can fight the nature of themselves, you got to win her 9 times out of 10, right? If she can fight her nature, you got to win her 9 times out of 10. But how often do you see that? Is that the majority or the minority, as they like to say nowadays? It is those living works of art which are beyond man's comprehension. Those creatures walking the fashionable streets of Paris, Rome, and New York City. The skill of eyeliner and shadow expertly applied. The choice of lipstick and its application, with or without lip brush, in several layers or only in one. The compromise to be achieved between the pros and cons of false eyelashes, the matching of a dress, a stole, or a coat with the lighting. All of this is an art requiring expert knowledge, which man has no conception. You guys know how big, if you go to the TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, how big makeup channels are? Right? How we speak about the magic of how these women are witches, right? They can look ugly, but then put makeup on and look like a totally different person. A man lacks any kind of appreciation for this. He has not learned to interpret the extent of female masquerades, and he cannot possibly evaluate these walking works of art. To achieve perfection in such skill needs time, money, and an infinitely limited mind. All these requirements which are met by women. In fact, when a woman dresses, she considers a man to a slight extent, the extent necessary to hold him and to encourage him to provide in the widest sense for her. Every other investment is aimed at other women. Man has importance only as the provider. If a firm wants to get hold of a specialist in some field, it will flatter and entice him in every possible way until he weakens. Once the contract is signed, his employers can relax. Their leverage over him continues to increase. A woman behaves in much the same way with the man. She gives her man just enough rope to ensure he's preferring life by her side to breaking his contract with her. A woman may, in fact, be compared to a firm in a number of ways. After all, a firm is only an impersonal system aimed at achieving a maximum profit. And what else does a woman do? Without any emotion, love, hate, or malice, she is bound to the man who works for her. Feelings become involved only if he threatens to leave her. Then her livelihood is at stake. As this is a rational reaction with a rational cause, it can be rationally dealt with and adjusted to. She can always place another man under contract. How different is her reaction from those of a man who finds himself in a similar position? He is racked by jealousy, humiliation, and self-pity, but she is emotionless. Hey, y'all seen it when a girl's ready to go? If you know, you know, right? A woman will hardly ever feel jealous in such a situation, since the man is leaving her only for another woman and not in order to be free. In her eyes, he is not improving his position in any way. The adventure of a man's love for a new woman is nothing more than a nuisance. She is seeing it from the angle of the entrepreneur who loses his best worker to a competitor. As far as the woman is concerned, the heartache involved is nothing more than a reaction of letting good business go elsewhere. God damn it. Consequently, it is quite absurd for any man to think his wife is being faithful merely because she does not go off with other men. Men who, in his eyes, are more attractive. Provided he is working hard and is supplying all the things that really matter to her, why should she? A woman's faithfulness has nothing in common with that of a man. Women are, in contrast to men, practically immune to the looks of the opposite sex. If a woman who flirts with her husband's best friend, her intention is to annoy. If a woman flirts with her husband's best friend, her intention is to annoy his wife, whose feelings do matter, unlike those of her own husband. If she felt deeply about the man in question, she would never show emotions in public. I ain't gonna even get into that. Y'all figure that one out. And pluralistic sex practices such as wife swapping, which has now taken over from flirtation as a pastime, it is the other wife who is the object of attack. History is full of anecdotes about male potentials. Look, man, this is what I tell y'all, right? If a woman mess with you and she know you got a girl, it ain't even about you. I said that before, right? Y'all tell me when I lie. If I told you that before, y'all, if I told you that before on the live, put a 1 in the chat. If a woman messes with a man and she know you got a girl, it's not even about you. She trying to hurt your girl. I never read this, y'all. I already told A-Team I never read this. I wanted to give a real reaction. Right? So what it really comes down to is if you care about your girl's feelings or not. Right? It's a cold game. Exactly. We supposed to be grown, green beans. A woman would be bored to tears with an all-male harem. This has always been the case and will remain so, right? So, hey, man, if women reacted to a man's external appearance, every current advertisement scheme would be useless. According to According to statistics, it is the female sector of the population who spends the most money men earn for them. Manufacturers do not attempt to stimulate sales by advertisements displaying handsome he-men. On the contrary, no matter what they want to sell, package holidays, detergents, cars, bedroom suites, television sets, each advertisement flaunts what? A beautiful woman. They also won't want a thing to do with you until you get a woman. Then if she looks happy and is taken care of, all of a sudden. Only very recently have film producers realized that a handsome hero is not essential to the success of a film. Women are quite content with an ugly star. John Paul Belmondo, Walter Matthau, or Dustin Hoffman. And naturally, men prefer them. With their sense of physical inferiority, clue to the fact that they only very rarely consider themselves beautiful. They find it far easier to identify with the ugly star. As long as there is a beautiful female lead, a film with an ugly male star will be enjoyed by women as much as a movie starring Rock Hudson. For in reality, they are interested only in the women in the film. The reason men have remained blind to facts like these for such a long time is that they have been misled by the attacks women make on each other. BZ, what's good, my boy? When they hear a woman make derogatory remarks about another, her nose is too big, her chest is too flat, hips too wide, or her legs are crooked, men, of course, assume that they can't stand each other or that women are not attracted by another woman's beauty. Yet, how wrong they are. Any businessman, for example, who spends his life praising his competitors in front of his employees would be thought quite mad. Before long, half his best workers would have moved to the other firm. It is the same game that politicians play. Of course, they have to blacken each other's names. But if Nixon's got stranded on a desert island, he would surely prefer the company of Koizygin or Castro to the much praised man in the street who only elected him. After all, they have very little in common. If women were free of financial cares, the majority of them would probably prefer to spend their lives in the company of other women rather than with men. And not because they are all lesbians. What men call lesbian tendencies probably have little to do with a woman's sexual drive. No, the sexes have almost no interest in common. What besides money can bind a woman to a man? Women make ideal living companions for each other. Their feelings and instincts are retarded at the same primitive level, and there are almost no individualistic or eccentric women. It isn't difficult to imagine the paradise they would create together and how exciting their existence would be, even if the intellectual level was appallingly low. But who would worry about it? The fair sex. To someone from outer space, surely men would appear infinitely more worthy of admiration than women. For man has intelligence as well as beauty. Throughout the century, man's standards of values must have become sadly confused. Otherwise, women would never have been called the fair sex. The mere fact that they are so much less intelligent than men is enough to contradict such a conception. A conception. For a stupid person can never be thought of as beautiful unless judged on the purely physical level. But it should be emphasized that the fault lies with man himself, who valued women according to standards by which people and animals are on the same level. If he had not done so, women would hardly fit into the group Homo sapiens. A man needs a woman because, as we shall see, he needs something to which he may subject himself. But at the same time, he must retain his self-respect. This leads him to endow women with qualities which will justify his subjection. As women have never yet made any attempt to use her wits, he cannot call her intelligent, but he gets where is it at? Page 15. But he gets close to it by creating the concept. So she going in, hey man, I'm just reading the book. BZ, my boy, what's good, my guy? How you doing, man? Happy Monday, bro. Glad to see you. But gets close to it by creating the concept of woman's intuition. So, in the absence of any other real qualities, he calls her beautiful. Aesthetic standards are necessarily subjective, and each aesthetic judgment one makes is an act of personal choice. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? But subjectivity easily turns into an excuse, and man is only too pleased to allow himself to become a slave. A man assumes that since woman adorns herself with the obvious intention of drawing all eyes towards her, she must have some reason for her action. So man finds women beautiful because she thinks she is beautiful. Indeed, he is very grateful for being allowed to share this opinion. But this feminine claim to beauty is also supported by subterfuge, by a trick. Women's greatest ideal is a life without work or responsibility. Yet who leads such a life but a child? A child with appealing eyes, a funny little body with dimples, and sweet layers of baby fat and clear taut skin. That darling miniature of an adult. It is a child that a woman imitates. Its easy laugh, its helplessness, its need for protection. A child must be cared for. It cannot look after itself, and what species does not, by natural instinct, look after its offspring? It must, or the species will die out. With the aid of skillfully applied cosmetics designed to preserve that precious baby look, with the aid of helpless, appealing babble and exclamations such as "oh" and "ah" to denote astonishment, surprise, and admiration, with inane little bursts of conversation, women have preserved this baby look for as long as possible, so as to make the world continue to believe in the darling, sweet little girl she once was. And she relies on that protective instinct in man to make him care for her. As with everything a woman undertakes on her own initiative, this whole maneuver is as incredible as it is stupid. It is amazing, in fact, that it succeeds. It would appear very short-sighted to encourage such an ideal of beauty, for how can any woman hope to maintain it beyond the age of 25? Despite every trick of the cosmetic industry, despite magazines' advice against thinking or laughing, both tend to create wrinkles, her actual age will inevitably show through in the end. And what on earth is a man to do with a grown-up face when he has been manipulated into considering only helpless, appealing little girls to be creatures of beauty? Hey, I appreciate you, bro. He said, okay, Ricky, your book should be there. I imagine in about a week as soon as it gives me a delivery date. Okay, bro, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for it. This PDF sucks. I appreciate you, God. What I still got you. I'm reading your the Human Nature book right now too. So that's my bathroom read. That's my toilet read right now. What is a man to do with a woman when the smooth curves have become flabby tires of flesh, the skin slack and pallid, when the childish tones have grown shrill and the laughter sounds like nagging? It's interesting. It's interesting, Tim. I'm just at the beginning of it, so I'll definitely give you I'll give you a synopsis when I'm done with it. What is a man to do with a woman when the smooth curves have become flabby tires of flesh, the skin slack and pallid, when the childish tones have grown shrill and the laughter sounds like nagging? What is to become of this shrew when her face no longer atones for her ceaseless inanities? I think they spelled that wrong. I'm gonna skip that. And when the cries of "oh" and "ah" begin to drive him out of his mind, this mummified child will never fire a man's erotic fantasy again. One might think her power broken at last. But no, she still manages to get her own way. And for two reasons. The first is obvious. She now has children who enable her to continue feigning helplessness. And for the second, there are simply not enough young women to go around. It's a safe bet that given the choice, man would trade in his grown-up child wife for a younger model. But as the ratio between the sexes is roughly equal, not every man can have a younger woman. And as he has to have a child or and as he has to have a wife of some sort, he prefers to keep the one he already possesses. This is easy to prove. Given a choice, a man will always choose a younger woman. Elizabeth Taylor and Marilyn Monroe were passé the moment their wrinkles could no longer be hidden by layers of makeup. And therefore, when a man went to the cinema, he simply bought a ticket to see a younger star. Anyone who can afford it is not restricted in this respect to buying seats at cinemas. Financiers and show business tycoons make a habit of turning in their used wives for newer models. And since alimony is fairly good, not even the old wife seems to mind. In fact, she is probably very glad to have made such a good deal. Well, but this is a luxury for the rich alone. If a poor man decides in a moment of euphoric irresponsibility to change over to a younger woman, he can be sure of losing her pretty quickly. His money will never stretch to 2 wives and 2 sets of children, for the second wife will certainly insist on having offspring as well. And if an attractive young woman has a choice, she will choose a young man every time, providing he is financially secure. This is not, of course, for aesthetic reasons. With any luck, he will be able to provide for her longer. On the other hand, if offered a rich man of 40, a woman would certainly prefer him to a poor young man of 20. Women certainly know what they want from men and know exactly on which side their bread is buttered. So we've been seeing this report or this interaction between Anton and the lady on stage, right? Where she was talking about when they was in high school. Right? When they was in high school, and you mad because the men we got there and we were held victims, right? Just like this lady saying, right? The childishness. They actually went and proposed and positioned themselves to get these older men with money, but now they play victims. But now they're older and they want a younger man or someone in their age bracket with money to take care of them. Does it make sense? Let's keep going. It is lucky for the adult women that men do not consider themselves beautiful. Hold on. It is lucky for the adult women that men do not consider themselves beautiful, since most men are beautiful. Their smooth bodies kept trimmed by hard work, their strong shoulders, their muscular legs, their melodic voices, their warm human laughter, the intelligent expression of their face, and their calibrated, meaningful movements overshadowed those type of women completely, even in a purely animal sense. And since they, unlike women, work and their bodies are therefore preserved for continued future use, men also retain their beauty longer. As a result of their inertia, women's bodies rapidly decay, and after the age of 50, they are nothing but indifferent heaps of human cells. One has only to observe a 50-year-old housewife on the street and compare her appearance. Bear with, guys. God dang it. With that of a man of the same age. Men are not aware of their own beauty, and no one mentions it. There is so much rubbish written and talked about the charm of women. Even children and animals are considered graceful, adorable, and delightful, but never a man. Men are at best praised for their steadfastness, courage, reliability, all qualities that are useful to women, having nothing to do with their physical appearance. It would be difficult to find a description of the male body except in a medical textbook. And outside of these, who would ever dream of going into great detail about the exact shape of his lips, the precise shade of his eyes in a special kind of light, and as for the delicacies of his nipples or the pleasing shape of his scrotum and his testicles? Just imagine a man's amazement and amusement if they were subject to hymns of praise. Men are not used to having their looks discussed. Grown women, as a rule, ugly creatures, have time and opportunity to admire men, but rarely see them. It is not that a woman is mean or envious. It is that she thinks of him as a machine for the production of material goods. And who regards a machine as an object of beauty? It is something that functions, and men judge themselves similarly. They are far too worn out by their role as providers and by the eternal rat race to think of being objective about their own looks. Hey, fellas, where is that at? This is great. This is a great analogy as far to how men look at cars. Right? You notice how like men have a different appreciate. Like we see a nice car and it's clean, we be like, that motherfucker bad, boy. It's a machine, right? Or you be like, you see the lines, you see the paint job on that bitch. Girls be like, it's a car. At large, right? Most girls don't care what a car look like. All this is a pointless discussion anyway, for basically men are not interested in the possibility of being beautiful. What point would that give to their labors? Women must be the ones who are beautiful, helpless, adorable. They must be, in fact, lacking a more precise definition, the fair sex. Man, unlike woman, is beautiful because man, unlike woman, is a thinking creature. What does this mean? Man has a thirst for knowledge. He wants to know what the world around him looks like and how it functions. A man thinks, he draws conclusions from the data he encounters. Man is sensitive as a result of his exceptionally wide, multidimensional emotional scale. He not only registers the commonplace and fine gradations, but he creates and discovers new emotional values. It makes them accessible to others through sensible descriptions or recreates them as an artist. Of all the qualities of men, his curiosity is certainly the most impressive. This curiosity differs basically from that of a woman. A woman takes interest only in subjects that have an immediate personal usefulness to her. For example, if she reads a political article in the newspaper, it is highly likely that she wants to cast a spell on some political science student, not that she cares about the fate of the Chinese, Israelis, or South Africans. As she looks up the names of some Greek philosophers in the dictionary, it does not mean she has suddenly taken an interest in Greek philosophy. It means she is trying to solve a crossword puzzle. If she is studying the advertisements for a new car, she is not doing it with a platonic interest in its technical features, but because she wants to own it. It is a fact that most women, mothers included, generally have no idea how the human fetus is formed, how it develops in the womb, or what stages it passes through before birth. Of course, it is entirely unnecessary for her to know about these things, since they cannot influence the development of the embryo anyway. It is only important to know that a pregnancy lasts 9 months and that for the duration, one must take care of oneself and, in case of complications, immediately consults one's doctor, who will, of course, restore everything to order. Man's curiosity is something quite different. His desire for knowledge has no personal implications. It is purely objective, and in the long run, it's much more practical than a woman's attitude. One has only to watch a man go past a building site where a newly developed machine is being used. For example, a new kind of dredger. There is hardly a man, regardless of social status, who will pass by without a glance. Many men will stop to have a good look and discuss the characteristics of the new machine, its advantages and disadvantages, and its differences from previous models. I need to bookmark this. Bookmark. Nope. There we go. Bookmarked. And it's page 17. I'll set myself a note. That's our hour reading, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back tomorrow if everything goes well. Shout out to y'all. Before I get out of here, where's Almanized email at? Hey, y'all. Almanized at 78. All right, I get that out to you, hun. Y'all got anything before I get out of here? Y'all got anything before I get out of here? There we go. And pose. Hey, y'all. I'm 978. 78. Email. Hey, y'all. Book PDF. I'll get that attached. Pew. Pew. All right, I just sent that out to the request stores. Thank everybody for coming through. Appreciate y'all. I told you I got you, sis. Look. To everybody I promised a laptop to, it's coming. It's coming. All right. I'm a procrastinator. I keep telling y'all this. Procrastinate. Right? I got to put the stuff in boxes. I got to take them to the post office. I got to pay the post office. Hey, you got them. They're crispy. I'm telling you. Just trust me. Trust me. Trust me. I got you. Right? And hey, just and when you get it, make sure you're praising me the way. Exactly. Exactly. You understand what I'm saying? Right? I got you. All right. So that's all I got, man. I appreciate y'all. We'll be back. Y'all know how it is. Make sure y'all check the community tab. Again, if it's light, I'll be back. I want to knock this book out. And we'll take it from there. We back. We trying to get back consistent, y'all. Like I said, I know. I don't know. I'm trying to get back consistent, y'all. Life be lifing. But that's all I got, man. Y'all have a great night. We'll be back tomorrow. Peace.